guys, Ashlane here, coming at you today, reviewing and highlighting the brand new updated spawner deck. You can see my trophies up there. I'm nearing 3,200, getting a little bit higher in Legendary League than I had. I'm starting to push a little bit, and I'm doing it with this new spawner deck. So I brought you my old version of the spawner, and this one is quite different. Now I actually finally got the princess card. I am so excited. You guys know how long I've been complaining about not having the princess, but if you don't have the princess card, we'll discuss another variation of this deck. And same thing goes with the poison card. So if you don't have the princess, you want to use arrows in that spot. That way, for the same elixir cost, you're able to do somewhat of the similar utility in the card, meaning that it's going to do a little bit of damage to a wide area of targets. So this is actually the deck that I discovered off of somebody else who played me and who beat me. And as you know, with so many of my decks, I've since started using it, and you can see a lot of victories in a row. That defeat up there was just against a clanmate just messing around, but you can see, like, maybe about, what, 6 out of 7 that I won there, so not too bad. Let's go ahead and first watch this deck using the variation with the arrows in there in case you don't have the princess card yet. So it is still a spawner deck, meaning that the two most important cards are obviously your Goblin Hut and your Barbarian Hut. But there's a very important thing to keep in mind when playing any variation of a spawner deck with these huts. Probably the most important thing is never drop a hut while it's going to leave you with no elixir. So you never want to drop a hut when you're going to have no elixir left, unless you're very, very confident that the opponent also has no elixir as well. Because otherwise, you're very susceptible and vulnerable to an enemy attack in one of your lanes, and just one hut, especially in the opposite lane, isn't going to do you any good on defense. So look at the new deck. Let's talk about the cards in the deck other than the two huts. You're going to have the, I think my old deck had the mirror card. We've ditched the mirror. Instead, we've added some high-powered cards to help you out here. So you have the arrows and the poison spell, or the princess and the poison spell. You have the Inferno Tower. You have the giant. You have Musketeer. You have Valkyrie. And I think that's all the cards in the deck, unless I'm forgetting one. So the idea here is going to be as follows. You want to go ahead and take the first minute. Let's divide the match into 3 minutes, because it's 3 minutes long, right, Ash? Okay, let's do this. So we're going to divide the match into 3 minutes, right? So in the first minute, you want to feel out your opponent. You want to see what they have. You don't have to be super aggressive dropping your huts in the first minute of the match. It's much more important, to my mind, to go ahead and play defensively, feel out the cards your opponent has, then you'll better know how to attack them in the next 2 minutes of the match. So the second minute of the match, that's when you can start trying to build your huts at the same time. The idea is to try to get 2 huts on the board in the same lane if possible, and hopefully the huts are placed in the similar time frame. You can see right here on this replay, I now have 2 huts on the right lane right now, so I'm also able to defend a little bit because barbarians that are spawned from that hut right in front of my king tower are also going to defend in the left lane. Now obviously they didn't defend much there because he had a decent attack coming at me in the left, but either way I'm able to turn it into a decent offense in the right, even though I only have 1 hut on the board right now. That's because put the huts aside for a second here. This deck still has a lot of weapons. It's really hard to counter the Valkyrie along with the giant. That's 2 healthier, meatier troops that provide a great meat shield for all of those spawned units coming out of the huts. You have a high point damage unit in the Musketeer. Musketeer works really well in this deck. Now check out this win condition here. I'm actually going to use Poison Spell to get the tower down below 100 hit points, and then I know my arrows can take it out from there. So I'm just cycling to get the arrows into my hand. Finally have them, and there it is, the 2 crown win. And you can see I almost had the 3 crown there. The King Tower very low on hit points. I opted to go for the right lane. It's really the user's choice. Do you want the stat of the 3 crown on your profile or not? So on this next replay, why don't I just talk you through my mindset every single time I'm playing a card. Now I should mention that against these tankier cards like a P.E.K.K.A. and a giant skeleton, it can cause problems with this deck. That's why we have the Inferno tower there. So at the very least, you should be able to play for a draw if you play well, especially against the Giant Skeleton, because against a spawner deck, the Giant Skeleton's bomb can obviously create some havoc on all your spawned units. We also have the Giant in this deck. That's not a card I had in my previous spawner deck. That way you have more, another beefier unit. Now, this variation, I'll go ahead and play the Princess, show you the Princess in action. So this guy has the free spell with the Dark Prince and the P.E.K.K.A. Very powerful deck. I actually showed a deck like this a couple days ago that I really liked as well. So between the two decks, I'm not sure which one I'm going to play in the upcoming Clash of Clans tournament, but I'm sure I'll find one and stick with it. Maybe this one, maybe not. But look at this. We have a Valkyrie and a Giant going in the right lane right now. Doesn't look that threatening. I don't know what it is about the Giant and the Valkyrie. Maybe it's because they're Clash of Clans IP that carried over into Clash Royale, but for whatever reason, I find that people can take the characters that are really familiar, they can take them very lightly and allow them to go ahead and do some serious damage for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm not sure if you guys have found the same. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and at this point, I know I have that right tower really low on health, so I don't want to overdo it. When you have a tower really low on health, sometimes it's best to just focus on the opposite lane. Now in this hand so far, in this game rather so far, I haven't even really got the huts down on the board. I haven't had a chance to do a heck of a lot of damage with them because this deck is so aggressive. I find myself having to play defense more than offense, but it's okay. That's okay with this deck. When you're using a spawner deck, just to be truthful and honest with you guys, you have to be prepared to take the draw sometimes. And that takes a certain level of discipline to be able to take the draw. You know, because you saw in my log there, in my battle log, I had a draw recently, and I noticed some players that towards the end of a match, if it's getting close and it looks like it might be a draw, they start changing up their entire play style. They start becoming way more aggressive, and that's when you can lose those last-second battles. I know I've done it in the past, so I'm certainly trying to heed my own advice as I give it to you guys. But here I'm using the poison as effectively as possible. Throughout all these matches, poison is one of the best cards to have in this deck. If you don't have it yet, you can use a fireball instead of the poison. Obviously, it's not going to be as effective, but you can see right now I'm using the Giant to just kite the P.E.K.K.A. away from my tower. At this point, it's all about playing defense. You don't need any more than one tower down to win the match. So just, important to remember to always play defensively, especially with this deck. If you have the lead, there's no reason to be super aggressive with this deck. Let the battle come to you and you'll have success with this new version of the spawner deck. I really, really like it, guys. Again, this is the deck. If you don't have the poison spell, go ahead and play the fireball. And if you don't have the princess spell, go ahead, or the princess card, go ahead and play the arrow spell, I guess. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the deck. Thanks so much for watching. Good luck and take care, guys.